What's up, everybody? We're back. Dunk Dynasty, episode 10. We made it to the double digits. Today, we're talking about the Mountain West. We're going to be talking about the highest of highs. Thanks, Wyoming. I'm having difficulty breathing, thanks to you. And to the lowest of lows. Yes, Air Force, you might have planes, but you are very bad at basketball. So you're at the bottom of the list. Today, we're talking about players to watch for the breakout this season. We're talking about dark horse teams, dark horse team, not top 25, who I think is going to win the Mountain West this year, and then I'll rank it from top to bottom. And then we're going to go talk about best newcomer of the league, and then we will wrap it up. So let's go ahead and get started. Some players I am looking forward to being excited to see this season. I'm going to name two people. We're going to go Nick Clifford first. He's coming back for his second senior season with the Rams. Prior to that, he played for Colorado for 3 seasons. I think Medved knows that he has a proven winner in Clifford, who is testing the waters with the draft this season. He proved to the world that he can be that guy. For the Rams last season, he averaged 12-8. After coming out of the draft, he gets that feedback and knows what he needs to be successful at the next level. I think over the last few seasons, every player who we've seen that tests the waters for the draft and then comes back usually takes a step forward in that next season or in that final season. So I'm really excited to see Nick Clifford for the Colorado State Rams. And then I'm also really excited to see transfer from Cal Poly, Kobe Sanders, transfers into the Mountain West on what should be, I say should be in quotations, because, anything can happen on late night Mountain West basketball. He transfers to the Boise State brand, or not Boise State, excuse me. He transfers to Nevada. He was averaging 19-4-3 last season in the Big West. It is completely different situation in the Mountain West. Big West does not equal Mountain West. There's levels to this shit. Mountain West is arms and legs higher than the Big West. I think Sanders can fill the role that Alfred loses in Keenan Blackshear. And I truly think that Nevada will be competing at the top of the Mountain West with the likes of Utah State, Boise State, and in New Mexico. With that being said, super excited for Nick Clifford. Also really excited for Kobe Sanders. Dark horse teams in the Mountain West. I think that the top half of the Mountain West and the bottom half of the Mountain West could realistically be 2 separate leagues, 2 separate conferences for that matter. But I currently have New Mexico ranked at number 3, I believe, in my Mountain West rankings. New Mexico has what it takes to be successful, Pitino has proven year in and year out that he can be successful with that talent. They lose JT Toppin to Kentucky. However, they return Dent, Amzil, and Nelly Joseph. With those returners, they also add Borukian and Atiki. Pitino does have his work cut out for him after last season. I think after last season, everyone had very, very high hopes for this team. They went to Vegas. They won 4 games in 4 days. And I think that is what everyone has their sights set on, that New Mexico can be that team that can make a deep tournament run. However, as we all know, they were ousted in the round of 64. I think that this team has a lot of talent. I think the biggest issue is going to be whether or not Pitino can put that talent on the floor the right time every night in order to make them successful. I think that if Pitino figures out his rotations and figures out his lineup, they have the chance to go 8, 9 people deep. If they go 8 or 9 people deep, they have a chance to make a deep run with the guys on this roster. Someone else I'm really excited for this season, I'm really excited for Colorado State. I know I talked about Nick Clifford, but Medved, he loses in the first 4 last season, but he proved that they deserve to be there. So very excited to see Nick Clifford and all the rest of the guys return to the Springs next season. And I don't think that they'll be competing at the top of the Mountain West per se, but I think they have a chance to be a dark horse team that we might see come March. Who do I think wins the Mountain West? I know I hinted at it earlier, but I think that this is Leon Rice's year. I'm very, very high on the Boise State Broncos. And I will say, for those of you that followed me last year, I said this last year too, very high on the Boise State Broncos last year. Danny Sprinkle took over in Utah, went into Logan, and absolutely shit on my hopes and dreams of the Broncos winning a title last year. With that being said, as we all know, Danny Sprinkle leaves Utah State. He goes to UW. My dreams are now officially alive again. Tyson Degenhart and Omar Stanley return, which accounts for roughly 35% of their scoring last season, both of which were all Mountain West, I should add. They also add Javon Buchanan and Dylan Anderson. Dylan Anderson transfers from Arizona, where he was a redshirt last season. Rookie season, freshman season. He wasn't the guy that everyone thought he was going to be after being 2-time Gatorade Arizona Player of the Year at Perry High School. So he leaves Arizona, transfers to the Mountain West to Leon Rice and the Boise State Broncos. The only issue that I have with the Boise State Broncos right now is their depth. They're likely going to be playing 6, maybe 7 guys deep for most of the season, which we know will likely play an issue down the stretch if someone gets hurt, if someone needs water. Leon Rice plays a very, very tough game of basketball. He's going to want the guys down in the box to bump. He's going to want them to play fast. This can be an issue if you're playing a very, very short bench. However, I think Leon Rice is going to be sitting in Vegas on Saturday night at the T-Mobile Arena holding the coveted Mountain West trophy with his ticket punched to the dance. With that being said, I talked about a potential dark horse team in New Mexico. I could see New Mexico winning the league. And I'm going to give you guys another one. I talked about Kobe Sanders at Nevada. I think Nevada has a chance to be at the top this season. So with that being said, we will talk about all of the rankings now. But I'm very, very high on Boise State, New Mexico, and Nevada. You can take 1, 2, and 3, flip-flop those any which way. And You wouldn't have to convince me otherwise. With that being said, we got the middle of the pack, UNLV, Utah State, and Colorado State. Like I said, I think the top half of this league and the bottom half of this league are two very, very different teams, two very, very different groups of teams. With that being said, San Diego State University, I have you guys at 7. I'm sorry, Gino, if you're watching, SDSU loses so much this season, and they do not return nearly half of what they got rid of. Lamont Butler transferred. Jadion Lee graduated. That's about 50% of their scoring. They didn't bring in any transfers. They didn't bring in any rookies that is going to be able to live up to those types of players. So you got SDSU at 7. And then I have Air Force, Fresno State, San Jose State, and Wyoming rounding out the pack. I know I made a joke about Wyoming earlier, not being able to breathe in the highest of highs. They're at the bottom of my rankings. The reason why I made that joke is because everyone hates playing at Laramie. Can't breathe. They're like 5,000 bajillion feet above sea level. They're up in the mountains. No one likes playing at Colorado State either, but it just seems like for whatever reason, everyone is talking about Wyoming and playing in Laramie every single week. Whether it's a Mountain West team, whether it's an ACC team, whether it's an SEC team, if you have to go to Laramie 9 times out of 10, you're going to hear some sort of talk about, oh my God, it's so hard to play here. However, with that being said, they will still be at the bottom of the league this year. The teams that matter to play them all play them every single year in Laramie, so they're used to it. So again, we'll talk about the rankings. I got Boise State, New Mexico, Nevada, UNLV, the top 4. Those are my Tier 1 Mountain West teams. My Tier 2 are going to be Utah State, Colorado State, San Diego State. And then you got the bottom tier, you got Air Force, Fresno, San Jose State, and Wyoming. You can, like I said, I just have Tier 1, Tier 2, and Tier 3. You can move any one of those teams in each tier to any one of those positions, and I wouldn't bat an eye. But that's how I have them ranked. So Boise State, New Mexico, Nevada, UNLV, Utah State, Colorado State round out the top 6. Then we have SDSU, Air Force, Fresno, San Jose State, and Wyoming rounding out the bottom 5. Newcomer of the year, I know I talked about him earlier already, but Boise State and Dylan Anderson. 2-time Arizona Gatorade Player of the Year, transfers from Arizona into what can be a very profitable spot for him in Boise with Leon Rice. Leon Rice has been known to put his big men down in the post and play a very, very physical brand of basketball. Dylan Anderson led the Perry Pumas to a 25-5 season his senior year, averaging 15-10. What was he doing? Very similar to what Leon Rice is going to have him do. Put him in the paint, get boards, get putbacks, and just play a bully brand of basketball. After redshirting his sophomore season at Arizona, like I said, freshman year, he put a lot of people's hopes and dreams to die because he just wasn't the guy that everyone hoped he was going to be. He has a chance to fill an Ogbo-type role on this squad. Ogbo graduated. He's going to get a ton of minutes, like I talked about earlier. Boise State will not be playing very deep this season. If Dylan Anderson takes a step forward, like everyone hopes he does, I hope he does. Perry is 25 minutes from my house. I watched this kid play a few years ago. He's great at basketball. Otherwise, he wouldn't have been an Arizona Gatorade Player of the Year not once, but twice. I'm very excited to see what Leon Rice does with Dylan Anderson. Do not be surprised if we are voting for Newcomer of the Year for the Mountain West and Dylan Anderson's name is at the top of that list. Mountain West Player of the Year, we will round it out. Mountain West Player of the Year, more than likely, In my opinion, I have no vote in this. If I do, this would be my guy. Coming into the season, Donovan Dent was that guy last year. He was the best guard in the Mountain West last year. JT Toppin leaves Albuquerque, goes to play for Mark Pope at Kentucky. Donovan Dent averaged 14-5 last season with NBA level talent on this roster. JT Toppin could have went to the NBA last year. Now that he is the guy in the Mountain West, he knows that he is the best guard. He knows that he is the best guard on this New Mexico team. Pitino needs to give him the green light. Pitino needs to let him shoot. Pitino needs to let him command the floor. If Pitino does those three things, we will see Donovan Dent averaging 20 points per game and averaging 7 or 8 assists night in and night out in a very, very efficient manner. If Donovan Dent wins Mountain West Player of the Year, New Mexico is winning the league. If Donovan Dent takes that step forward, averaging 20-7, 20-8, I see no reason why Donovan Dent will not be the Mountain West Player of the Year. With that being said, there is also some other people that if you told me the likes of Nick Clifford were nearing the top of that Mountain West Player of the Year candidate, if you told me Tyson Degenhart was playing at the top of that list, I wouldn't be surprised. If you told me that Omir Stanley was up at the top of that list for Mountain West Player of the Year, I wouldn't be surprised with any of those names. Tyson Degenhart averaged like close to 17-7 last year. Omir Stanley 13-4, 13-5, something like that. But I think this is going to be a two-horse race between Donovan Dent and Nick Clifford. Nick Clifford, like I just talked about with Donovan Dent, is in a very, very similar spot to Dent. He's going to be that guy for his squad. The difference between the two is that Dent has already proven that he can turn on the switch and be that guy in the top half of the Mountain West. I don't know that Nick Clifford has that next level. Nick Clifford averaged 12.3-8 last season. Don't get me wrong. He is a very, very good basketball player. The question is, does he have that next level to turn on the switch and be a guy that's going to average a 15-10 double-double in Mountain West play? My worry with him is if coming down the stretch late in the season, if Medved doesn't set this team up to be successful early on in the year. I haven't seen Colorado State's non-conference. I haven't looked too deeply into the Mountain West scheduling yet this year. If Medved and Colorado State does not put this team in a position to win early on, I can see Nick Clifford shutting down late in the season to prepare for his last shot to make the league. Again, like I said, if Nick Clifford has his team in the top 3 or 4 spots in the Mountain West come late January, early February, and he's averaging a double-double, don't be surprised if the media and the coaches are voting Nick Clifford to be the Mountain West Player of the Year coming down the stretch. With that being said, going to remind everyone, just like I do every single week, my national championship contenders are as follows. And these odds were from last week, so I will update the odds. I bet Alabama 6 weeks ago, as soon as Mark Sears came back, at 13-1. With that being said, I'm looking at the odds now. You have Alabama at 11-1. I still like Baylor. You have Baylor at 20-1. And since the last time that we talked about it, Iowa State has actually moved down from 32 to 1 down to 30 to 1. Again, these are the 3 teams that I like. These are the 3 teams that I think will have the most value to be the national championship contender coming into this season. I do not see any sort of value on a Duke at plus 900. No value, in my opinion, to lock up your money. I do not see value on Connecticut. NKY Bracketology and I talked about this last year. I think they are getting the votes early because of the fact that they are a 2-time back-to-back national championship team. Can they win it? Sure. Are they going to win it? In my opinion, they are not. So I do not see value in 10 to 1. And then rounding out that top 3, right before we get to that Alabama-Baylor section, you have Kansas. Bill Self is a proven winner. I know that. I'm not saying that they don't have a chance to win, but I just do not see value at 10 to 1. To be quite honest with you, I hardly see value at Alabama at 12 to 1. I just think that when we get into the season, Alabama has set themselves up to be successful with a very tough non-conference slate. If they go undefeated in non-conference, that 12 to 1 will very quickly be down to 7 to 1 or 8 to 1. Kansas has a tough non-conference. They can go from 10 to 1 down to 7 to 1 or 6 to 1 as well. I just don't see value in locking up money for the next 7 months, 8 months almost, on a team that you know is going to be successful and they are not going to stumble until you get to the tournament. With that being said, I've said my piece, and I will see everyone next week. Shout out to Sideline Sports Network. If you love to follow me, you can follow me on all the socials. I have them at the top of the screen here. YouTube, DNK_Dynasty. Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it, Dunk_Dynasty_. And Instagram, DNK_Dynasty. I will see you guys all next week. Thanks for tuning in. I hope everyone has a great week. Until next time, signing off.